Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm BT, and for today what I have here is Just Cause 3 running on my desktop, my HD 7850 and my Phenom II. So this game was developed by Avalanche, just like Just Cause 1 and Just Cause 2, and it's using their Avalanche Engine 3. I'm not sure if Mad Max wasn't the first game to use this engine, but I don't care that thing by now. I care now about Just Cause 3. So the settings that I decided to play this game is the settings, and despite many people that says that this game is very bad optimized, I have to disagree at some extent, and I have to agree it with another extent. So the settings, I'm not using SMAA T2 times because it uses a temporal solution. I love temporal SMAA, but in this game it causes a lot of temporal artifacts, and because of that I hate it. It's completely the opposite. I decided to benchmark its first mission on the settings, the maximum, the median and the low. For the median I disabled screen space reflections, bokeh, depth of field and water tessellation, and put every stuff on median and left the others enabled. Okay. And obviously for the maximum settings I had everything on maximum, and for the low I had all the stuff on the low. Okay, so let me explain why I consider this game not bad optimized, and at some other extent I consider it bad, another extent I consider it good. Okay, so the main problem with this game so far for me is that it's not the frame rate, it's the centering, and I will explain why this happens. So look at the Msi Afterburner. You can see that Msi Afterburner is reporting that my graphic card had the VRAM full, because this graphic card have 2 GB of VRAM, and you can see that I'm close to 2 GB of VRAM used. If you look to the RAM, you know that I have in this system 8 GB of RAM, and if you look to the RAM usage is at 7200 pretty much, which is pretty much the limit of the 8 GB of RAM, which is not good. So you might say, okay, so you are on the limits of your components, but yet you decide to play at the settings. That doesn't make any sense, right? Well, the problem is, even if you decide to play the game on the lowest settings, what it's going to happen is the game will continue to use the 2 GB of VRAM and the 7000 megabytes or the 7 GB of RAM. Okay, so it won't make any difference. The second problem is the CPU. So this is a 7-year-old CPU. Okay, and I don't consider this game bad optimized because of this, because the CPU usage is on the limit by now, it's on the red line, and I can't blame it. Look at all these effects and explosions. Keep in mind that I'm even recording this video for you with AMD Relive. You can't even imagine the... Look at this. You can't even imagine the quantity of work that this CPU is doing by now, and even recording above it. So it's really a lot for this CPU, for this old CPU. And still, without recording, this section over here with these settings never dropped too much below the 30s. It was just a small drop from the 30s when the gas station exploded. So I don't think that this game is bad optimized. It is a demanding game, it's true. It is a very demanding game for the CPU, because there is a lot of explosions and stuff that you can blow up. There is a ton of draw distance in this game. It's completely insane, and you can see it from the helicopter. Even if you put the game on the minimum settings, the draw distance is huge. So I can't really blame the fact that the CPU is getting a very big usage. The thing that really pisses me off is Avalanche didn't think about the 2 GB players of VRAM and the 8 GB players of RAM. So that's my first blame, because even if I put the game on the lowest, the game will continue to use a lot of RAM and a lot of VRAM, and that thing causes stuttering. You can notice already that my video is stuttering all over the place. I can assure you that without recording there isn't so much stuttering as you can see in here, but still I can confirm that even without recording sometimes there is a little bit of stuttering, and even the sound stops sometimes. So it's not ideal, but it's not unplayable either. Yes, if it was like on this recording, it was really hard to recommend. Okay, so the GPU power is fine for this game, the GPU can handle it, it's just the lack of memory that is killing up the performance mostly. Okay, that's the main problem with this game. It's the lack of memory. I can't really blame the CPU for the performance, because the CPU only gets very used when there is a ton of explosions and actions, and usually it doesn't really get too much lower than 30s, and it needs a lot of explosions for that to happen. And the consoles, PS4 for example, or Xbox One, sometimes even drop to 19 frames per second when the explosion happens. So our PC is handling it very fine. The main problem is just a little bit of stuttering. But this is my system. My system is clean. I don't use my desktop for work. I use my laptop for work. So it's pretty much clean. I don't even have an antivirus over here. So it doesn't have too much stuff on the background. That's it. The problem is, if you rely on a more heavy antivirus, or let's assume that if you make applications for Android and you have, let's assume that you make some software development, and obviously you're going to have like Visual Studio or NetBeans or Android Studio, and some of those softwares, even if you don't have them open, there are always some processes on the background. Same goes if you make some image editing or video editing in Adobe stuff like After Effects or Photoshop or InDesign, whatever. All those softwares do use some RAM at the background, even when they are closed. There are their maintenance processes that uses RAM. And like I was telling you, this system over here, my system, is very clean. Doesn't have almost nothing installed from third-party softwares, and even with that, the game sometimes decides to stutter. So the RAM is pretty much on limits. But the problem is that if you use your PC to any other stuff and you have any other application that consumes RAM, this might be very complicated to run without having a massive amount of stuttering. So you need to think about that before buying the game, okay? But that's pretty much it that I want to talk about the performance of the game. Always remember that all the stuttering that you are seeing over here is happening due to the fact that I don't have RAM or enough VRAM for this game, even at the lowest settings, okay? And this gets really worse because I'm recording, so the recording is making it much more difficult. Without recording there isn't too much stuttering, but again, if you use your PC to work or any other stuff that you have a lot of processes in background, it might get the same effect that you are seeing over here while recording, okay? Just, if you're going to buy this game, don't say that I don't warn you, okay? This game would love a 4GB graphic card, or even a 3GB graphic card, and 16GB of RAM. I would bet that this game would be awesomely fine without any single stutter, okay? Because GPU wise, I don't think that this game is too demanding. I think the graphics are beautiful and we can reach DI settings with good frame rates, so it's not a problem with the graphic card. The CPU, I think the use of the CPU on this game is very well justified because of all the breaking things and the distance and all the things that is happening, so the CPU is getting a very high usage, but is completely justified because of all this. So I think that the game is not bad optimized, it just uses a lot of memory, and most of the people were not expecting that, especially since this game was released 1 year ago and it is a little bit unthinkable if you ask somebody to play this game and that you need to have 16GB of RAM or 4GB of VRAM. That is something that not all the people have, even for today. Most of the people have 8GB of RAM. A lot of people still use graphic cards with 2GB of VRAM. There are many people yet with 1GB version of this card. So I think that this game is a little bit ahead of its time. That's pretty much, for me, that's my opinion about this game. Okay, so for now I'm going to let you enjoy the rest of the video. Hope you did understand all the things that I tried to say over here. If you have any doubt about anything, don't hesitate, just leave a comment on the section below, okay? And that's it. Hope you did enjoy the video, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
Rebel activity reported. Get to the following coordinates immediately.
advised that chopper support is approaching your location.
falls fast upon our nation. We control Bavaria.
Hello boys and girls, welcome back to the performance section of the video. So as you can see, if you look to the blue graph, which is the maximum settings, you can see a lot of spikes there that are the stuttering. On the high, median or low, there isn't too much stuttering going on. Like I did told you, the stuttering happens mostly because I was recording and the game was already using all the memory. So if you put the recording above the system full of stuff to do, it just stutters. Anyway, like I told you, if you have more stuff on the background, it might create the same effects that you saw on the video. Anyway, if you look to the percentage of frames lower than 30 FPS, you can see that all drop from the 30 FPS. That is due to the CPU bottleneck when that gas station explodes, so it can't handle it, whatever the settings that you are going to use. So because of that, I think that the high settings is the best one to play, because it doesn't get too much bottlenecks, you get an awesome graphics. Well, to be honest, this game even on the lowest have insane graphics, but anyway, the high settings for me, it was the best settings to go and play with this PC. It used 2 GB of RAM, it used 7 GB of RAM. The CPU usage was between the 80 and the 100%, so if you have a better CPU, I think that you will achieve better frame rate, maybe even less stuttering. And the GPU usage, I had a little bit bottleneck over there, between the 10% of bottleneck, let's say this way. If you put the game on median or on low, the GPU usage will be lower because it will get eventually more bottlenecks. So I hope this video was helpful for you. Anyway, if you have any doubts about anything, feel free to leave a comment on the comment section of the video. I will try to help you and try to answer to all your questions about the performance of this game. Okay, so that's all. Hope you did enjoy the video, and I do hope to see you soon. Thank you a lot for watching.